Discover the incredible life-changing speeches that will inspire your hidden transformation today. Lucas stood in the warm, golden glow of the garage as summer's heat swirled around him. The sound of clattering tools filled the air, but today it was different. Today, while adjusting the old radio in a neighbor's truck, he stumbled into a world of resonant echo speeches from legends like Martin Luther King Jr. and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Each word wrapped around him, pulling him out of the mundane and into a swirling sea of hope and introspection. His heart raced as the stories of resilience washed over him, igniting a spark he thought had long fizzled out. What would it mean for Maplewood, for his spirited daughter Mia, who sat daydreaming about castles in the sky just outside? With every phrase, he envisioned a community filled with passion and purpose, where struggle was met with collective strength. Could he harness those words and lift others like they lifted him? A youth mentorship program began forming in his mind, a way to funnel that inspiration toward the next generation. As he turned the radio off, the excitement settled into something deeper, a calling, yet shadows loomed over that dream. Conversations with Sarah, his wife, felt heavy lately. The mounting bills and uncertainty pushed against them like a weight they couldn't shake off at the dinner table. "Lucas, we can hardly make ends meet. You want to gamble our future on this idea?" Her words sliced through him, a sharp reminder of their reality. The tension simmered, leaving little room for dreams as dinner turned into a frayed string of silence interspersed with mismatched glances. Complications tightened their grip when word spread about layoffs threatening the local factory, the pride of Maplewood. Families like theirs would be left scraping the bottom if action wasn't taken. Lucas felt the urgency tugging persistently at him, a call to arms for their community. Fueled by the speeches that filled him with fervor, he organized a town meeting, a chance to share his vision and inspire change. But a rush of nerves flooded over him as the day approached. Would they stand with him or against him? That evening, as he stood on a makeshift podium, anxiety coiled within him. Gazing at the crowd, a mixture of fear and determination washed over him. He could sense skepticism curling in the air, like an invisible fence separating their hearts. Gripping his father's old wrench for comfort, he fought the doubts creeping in, took a deep breath, and poured out his heart. "When we stand together, there's no stopping us." His voice rang out, echoing with vulnerability and truth. "We're not defined by our bank accounts but by our collective struggles. Together, we can dream again. Together, we can build a future for our children." The crowd shifted, flickers of understanding igniting in their eyes. "This moment could change everything. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Just then, a figure from the town's elite stood up, scoffing at Lucas's vision. Scorn erupted from that corner, and whispers traveled through the crowd like brushfire. Doubt and debate surged, the air thickened with tension. Lucas felt the stakes rise. This was no longer just about him, it was about them all. The outcome of this meeting held the fragile potential to either unite them in hope or divide them in fear. In that electrified moment, he realized the hardest battle was just beginning. Could he rally Maplewood to see the light in their collective dreams, or would they succumb to the shadows? The murmurs spread through the crowd, an undercurrent of disbelief and doubt making its way between familiar faces. Lucas could see the shoulders of his neighbors tense, brows furrowed in uncertainty. Just moments ago, they had seemed captivated. Now, they felt like a storm was brewing, and Lucas was standing too close to the eye of it. "What do you know about struggle, Lucas? You've never walked in our shoes." The voice rang out, unmistakably sharp. It came from Marvin, a factory worker who had been at his job longer than Lucas had been in town. Marvin's line of questioning was a dagger, laced with the bitterness of desperation. Lucas's heart sank, but he couldn't let it deter him. Marvin's words stung, and for a moment, he fought the urge to retreat into defense. Instead, he thought of Sarah and Mia, the dreams he held for them. He thought of every struggling family staring back at him in the crowd. "You're right, Marvin," he finally replied, his voice steadier than it felt inside. "I haven't known your struggles, but I'm here because I care. I see the pain in your eyes, and I want us to stand together. That's why we need each other. We're stronger together." As Lucas spoke, he noticed a flicker of recognition in the eyes of others nearby. There was a single mother, clutching the hand of her young son. An elderly couple, who'd spent decades in the factory, were leaning toward each other, whispering. Hope began to seep into the atmosphere. "It's time we lift each other up," Lucas urged, emboldened by those fleeting glimmers of hope. "Let us create mentorship programs for our youth so that they don't have to fight these battles alone. We can build a brighter future if we're willing to be there for one another." Yet, the shadows loomed large, particularly from the naysayers. Another voice chimed in, a business owner with a well-tailored suit and an air of authority. "And what will that do for the families losing their jobs? It sounds nice, but what about the here and now?" Lucas clenched his fists, grounding himself. "What we do now determines our future, not just for ourselves, but for our kids. We can wallow in despair, or we can forge a new path together. If not now, when?" A ripple passed through the crowd, eyes flickered. People began to talk amongst themselves, weighing the weight of despair against a thread of possibility. "Let us hold an open forum," Lucas said, rising above the noise. "We can gather ideas, share our own experiences. Everyone's voice matters, every single person here matters. Together, we can decide January's priorities. Together, we share our burdens and reduce the fear that's suffocating this town." Suddenly, a hand shot up from the back, an unexpected gesture, igniting a spark of unity. "I'll help with the youth program." It was a young man Lucas recognized, someone he watched grow over the years. Instantly, others began to nod and raise their hands, one by one, jumping into the fray. Lucas could feel momentum shift, the initial skepticism was crumbling. Discussion began swirling around ideas and optimism birthed in the growing fervor. He couldn't help the smile that broke through, illuminating his face, but just as quickly as hope ignited, doubt edged back in. What if this was just a fleeting moment? A false dawn? Deep inside, his heart pounded, wishing against the sensibility of risk, hoping for the best outcome. Could he truly rally such diverse voices to create real change? As the energy buzzed in the air, he took one last look around the room, locking eyes with Sarah among the crowd. The worry in her gaze tugged at his heart. Would she eventually understand, see the need for hope he felt so desperately? As people continued to express their interest, Lucas felt his resolve strength within. He wouldn't just stand for them, he would stand with them. He moistened his lips, ready to speak again, but then a loud crash echoed from the back of the evening gathering, disrupting the delicate web of hope they had spun together. What had happened now? The crowd turned, confusion rippling through the sea of faces. The crash shattered the moment like a glass dropped on a hard floor. Lucas whipped around, heart racing. A tangle of chairs lay scattered across the floor, one of them having fallen over in a jumble. A figure stumbled forward, face flushed. It was Marvin again, but this time, his eyes were wide, and he appeared shaken. "What are you doing, Marvin?" Lucas called out, trying to keep his tone steady despite his rising anxiety. "I was just trying to," Marvin stammered, his voice trembling. I didn't mean to knock those over." His eyes darted back to the crowd, momentarily lost among the confused faces. The earlier tension returned, thicker this time, as whispers echoed through the space. "Looks like he's taking a tumble along with his ideas," joked a voice from the back, attempting to lighten the mood, but it fell flat. The noise only stirred indignation among some, while others stifled unwanted laughter. Lucas took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Everyone, listen up." He called out again, pulling attention back to him. "This moment shows us exactly why we need to connect. When we trip up, we need each other to catch us. Marvin straightened, cheeks still crimson. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have well. I've seen a lot of plans fail over the years, haven't you? His voice hung low, the earlier bravado wavering. What's to stop all our words being just another pile of dreams? Lucas's heart sank as the truth hung in the air. Change isn't easy, Marvin. But it won't happen if we don't start somewhere. What makes today any different? Marvin turned back to the crowd, searching their faces for agreement. His brows furrowed. For every plan made, I've seen 10 fail. We're all tired of empty promises. A heavy silence gripped the room. Lucas felt the weight of it, pressing down on him. He could see Sarah's worried glance scanning the crowd as if trying to decipher which way the tide would turn. I understand your skepticism, Marvin, Lucas said softly, stepping closer. But I believe something can change if we try not just talk. If we're willing to put in the work, we can hold each other accountable, and maybe this won't end in disappointment. He noticed some heads nodding, while others remained unmoved. There's no magic wand, he continued, hopeful eyes wide. But we can light a spark that grows into a flame. We can share the burden and the responsibility. Marvin's frown deepened. But what if we burn ourselves trying? The notion hung in the air like an uninvited guest lurking at the back of the room. What if this did end in disaster? Lucas's heart clenched, but a small part of him pushed forward, surging with longing for impact. Without risk, there's no gain. With risk, there's courage. Lucas's voice soared, carrying determination above the doubt cradling the room. We are all here tonight because deep down, we want more than what we have, right? Slowly, murmurs of agreement began again. Hope crept, weaving into their hearts like a fresh breeze. I'll help, Marvin said, sounding more certain now. I'll stay involved. One by one, hands began rising in the crowd, echoing Marvin's resolve. Each face sprang to life with renewed energy. A woman pushed her way through. Count me in too. We can help each other. Lucas felt the swell of something transformative rise in the air, but he knew the moment was fragile. Could they truly withstand the obstacles ahead? He looked out over the engaging faces and felt the spark of potential. But even as their voices mingled with excitement, an uneasy whisper fluttered the back of his mind. Something inside warned of brewing storms beyond their small gathering. Just then, a shout tore through the night. You're wasting your time. It's all pointless. A shadowed figure stood at the exit, arms crossed defiantly, representing the very doubts they were trying to overcome. Lucas's heart raced again, the ground beneath him throbbing with uncertainty. What would they do now? Would they push through the fear, or would despair take root? The uproar stirred like a sudden storm, the air thick with uncertainty. Lucas had felt a spark of hope ignite in the room, but now that flicker seemed endangered, overshadowed by the harsh voice from the exit. Who even are you? Lucas called out, striving to meet the challenge head-on. Uncertainty pulled at his core, but he stepped forward, determined to turn the tide back in favor of unity. The shadowed figure remained planted, defiance etched into their posture. I'm someone who knows the truth. You think words can change things? They can't. Look around you, the world is broken. Laughter erupted from the back of the crowd, but it was the dismissive kind, an echo of the doubts creeping back into their minds. Lucas scanned the audience, faces twisted in doubt, arms crossing in defensive stances, brows furrowed with disbelief. He could almost hear them whispering about what had never worked before. Maybe the world is broken, Lucas conceded, finding a steady rhythm in his voice. But look at us. We're here, aren't we? Trying to make a difference. He spread his arms wide, inviting their scrutiny. We're not just here to talk, we're here to act. Marvin shifted nervously, glancing from Lucas to the figure still blocking the way. What do you want from us? Marvin asked, his voice almost pleading. Are we really going to believe we can make a difference after so many failures? One woman, her expression tense but curious, stepped closer. "Marvin, you've seen all those failures, but have you also seen the small victories? We've pulled together more than once, and we made things happen. Isn't that worth fighting for?" The shadowed figure shifted, a flicker of vulnerability danced across their hard expression. "Small victories don't change the big picture. You might feel good for a moment, but when it all falls apart again, what then?" The tension hung like a thick fog. Lucas's heart pounded louder in his chest. This was their moment, the moment to reveal their collective strength without masking their fears. "What if we fail?" he asked, firm yet soft. "What if we do and it hurts?" "It will. But, what if we don't?" His voice rose, carried by a swell of emotions. "What if we don't stand up at all? What if we let fear win? Are we really going to let ourselves be defeated by our doubts?" The crowd began to murmur, uncertain but increasingly drawn in. "Look, I'm not asking you to ignore the darkness," Lucas continued, heart racing with raw urgency. "I'm asking you to let the light in. Let us hold each other up as we stumble through the shadows. There's strength in numbers, and we're all here and we each have a voice." That was it. The moment struck them like lightning illuminating a stormy sky. Some faces softened, others sparked with determination. Marvin's hand shot up again. "I don't know if we can change the world, but let us at least try to change our own little corner." Cheers erupted, and the crowd buzzed with the energy of unity. Yet, the shadowed figure remained, arms crossed, glowering. "You really think it'll make a difference? An army of dreamers won't conquer reality." Lucas took a breath, feeling the pressure mount again. "Maybe not alone. But together? Together, we forge a new path. Even the tiniest steps can lead to something incredible." As the tension began to lift, the crowd surged with new life. They began to step forward, determined not to let despair take root. But just then, the figure broke free from the shadows, taking a step into the light, their face revealing more than just doubt. "What if I told you? I've seen something like this before." Lucas's breath caught. What was this new twist? Did they hold a secret from the past that could change everything? Lucas's mind raced. He was torn between fear and curiosity. What could this stranger, this once shrouded figure, possibly know? The anticipation in the crowd buzzed like static electricity, and every pair of eyes was now glued to the unfolding drama. The figure stepped fully into the light, revealing familiar features. It was Olivia. Lucas felt a jolt of recognition and surprise. She had been part of their circle once, a vibrant voice advocating for change before vanishing into the background, lost to the shadows of doubt. "Olivia?" Marvin whispered, incredulous. "Is that really you?" "Yes," she replied, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "I've been watching you all. I left because I believed I was protecting myself from disappointment. But that only made it worse. I thought stepping away would take the weight off my shoulders, but instead, it left me feeling empty." The crowd was silent, caught in a tight web of intrigue and empathy. Olivia's honesty pierced the initial skepticism. "I didn't think you were all capable of this," she continued, eyes gleaming. "When I said that small victories don't change the big picture, I meant I lost sight of them. But those victories matter. They're seeds. They grow into movements when watered with hope and hard work." Lucas felt a swell of emotion welling up within him. Her words resonated. His heart beat faster as he realized that they were standing at a crossroads not just for themselves, but for the world around them. "What did you see?" Lucas ventured, taking a step closer. "What happened to make you turn your back on what we could fight for?" Olivia hesitated, swallowing hard, gazing into the faces of others who had shared in her struggles. "I saw people lose hope. I watched communities crumble under pressure. But what hurt more than anything was witnessing those who should have stood together turn against each other out of fear. I had to ask myself, Was it worth it to stay quiet when I believed in something greater? A murmur spread through the people, a mixture of admiration and realization. They could feel the weight of her vulnerability, the truth in her reflection. Lucas nodded slowly. But now you're here. It's not too late. If we can create a new movement together, how do we ensure it doesn't break like before? How do we turn those small victories into something meaningful? Her gaze flickered around the crowd, fueling the flame of anticipation. It starts with collaboration and understanding. It starts with facing your fears and inviting others to do the same. If we want to change our little corner, we must support one another not just with words, but with action fueled by hope. At that moment, a ripple of courage sparked among the crowd. A whisper surged through the air as people began to nod, agreement blooming alongside previous doubt. Olivia stepped back slightly, a small smile dancing on her lips. I might have walked away once, but I see something special here. You are not just dreamers. You're a community. Let us remind each other that it's okay to be vulnerable. Let us rise up and lift one another. Her call to action resonated hard, igniting the hearts in the crowd like a match to dry grass. Voices joined together, echoing declarations of support and solidarity, but just as the noise reached its peak, there was a sudden silence. A shadow flickered at the entrance. Once more another figure emerged. What is this? A heartfelt reunion? How adorable! Lucas clenched his jaw, feeling the weight of uncertainty drop heavily in the pit of his stomach. Who was this new arrival? And what threats did they bring to their moment of unity? The air thickened with tension as the new figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the gathering dusk. A smirk crossed his face, exuding arrogance that matched the sneer in his voice. The crowd's energy shifted, excitement fading into apprehension. Look at all of you, he continued, drawing closer. So eager to believe in fairy tales. You think one speech could change everything? You really believe you can stand together against the real problems out there? Marvin took a step forward, ready to defend Olivia and their message, but Lucas held him back. They needed to understand who this person was and what he wanted. Who are you? Lucas challenged, his voice steady but betraying a hint of uncertainty. Oh, just a humble observer, the man replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm. But let us be real. You think your little movement can make a difference? Change? That's the joke. People like you come and go, but the world? It keeps on spinning, just the same. Lucas' heart pounded in his chest. This was a test. He could feel the strength of Olivia behind him, her presence radiating encouragement. The crowd was restless, a mix of confusion and anger brewing. Olivia moved forward, gathering herself. You're wrong. Change starts with belief. It starts with individuals who care enough to unite and push through. We're inspired to make a difference, individuals can ignite that change. The man chuckled, but his laughter was devoid of joy. And when you fail, and you will, what then? More disappointment, more disillusionment. You think you're special, don't you? What makes you any different from all those who tried before? This struck a nerve. Anger flared inside Lucas, but he fought to redirect it. It's not about being special, he countered. It's about rising together, learning from mistakes. We're committed to this. You don't have to believe, but you should fear underestimating the power of unity. The newcomer's smirk faded slightly, revealing a hint of uncertainty. Perhaps he didn't expect such conviction from this group. It was a crack, and Lucas felt that if they pushed harder, they could break through. Olivia stepped up to Lucas, her face illuminated by the fading light, settling the energy in the space. We've all had doubts, moments when fear threatened to paralyze us. But we choose to stand up and fight for something worth believing in. And then, as if on cue, the crowd began to chant. Together. Together. The voices rose, filling the air with a powerful affirmation. It felt electric. But just as Lucas began to feel hope replace unease, something snapped in the tension. The newcomer's shoulders tightened, his posture becoming predatory. Is there something you want to say? Because I'm betting you have no idea of the forces you're really up against. A shiver ran down Lucas' spine. What did he mean? Who else was out there, waiting to pounce on their fragile unity? As the night deepened, Lucas looked around at the faces of his friends, their excitement now shadowed by doubt. The battle was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than they had dared to imagine. He knew they had to act quickly before fear could snuff out their flame. We're going to find out who's really behind this, Lucas declared, feeling a powerful surge of determination. But we can't do it alone. We need a plan. And in that moment, they all felt it, the weight of impending challenges melded with an exhilarating sense of purpose. But what would it cost them to find the truth? And how would they confront the darkness that threatened to pull them apart? The air crackled with anticipation as Olivia looked from Lucas to the crowd. The chants of "together, together" rang in her ears, a fierce reminder of the power they had when united. But now, beneath that collective energy, threads of doubt wove in, threatening to unravel their resolve. "Let us meet at the coffee shop tomorrow," Lucas suggested, his voice steady despite the tension lingering from the confrontation. "We'll brainstorm ideas, figure out who this guy is, and how we can build on what we've started here tonight." Marvin nodded, glancing at Olivia, his expression a mix of concern and hope. "Yeah, we need to stay focused. This guy's just a distraction if we let him be one." But Olivia knew it wasn't just about the man challenging them. It was deeper than that. Fear gripped her heart, the possibility of failure loomed large. "What if we can't convince people to stick with us?" she murmured, half to herself. The crowd was beginning to disperse, their chants fading into silence. "What if it's all for nothing?" "Olivia," Lucas stepped closer, his gaze locked onto hers. "Every movement faces resistance. It's normal. It's how we react that will define us." His words were like a lifeline, but the uncertainty still gnawed at her. I want this to mean something." "It does mean something," Lucas replied firmly. "We can't lose sight of that. If we fall apart now, we're giving him power. We can't let that happen." The resolve in Lucas's voice comforted her, but uncertainty lingered as they made their way through the remnants of the crowd. Every face was a reflection of the struggle they were about to undertake. Together, they felt palpable, unstoppable, but could they remain as such in the face of adversity? As the group fractured and dispersed into the night, Olivia hung back, watching the last few stragglers pull away, their spirits seemingly dimmed. She glanced back at Lucas and Marvin, their silhouettes against the fading light were steadfast. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her from her thoughts. She fished it out to see a message from an unknown number. "You're in over your head," it read. "Leave this to the professionals." A cold wave washed over her, making her heart race. Was this the threat the newcomer had been talking about? She quickly shared the message with Lucas and Marvin, and their faces paled. What if there's more than just this guy? What if there's a network behind him? Marvin said, worry etched across his brow. Then we need to uncover it. Lucas asserted. They're afraid of us, of what we can accomplish. That means we're doing something right. Olivia's heart ached with fear and exhilaration. They were stepping into the unknown, perhaps a darkness filled with more dangers than they could imagine. But she felt the fire within her stir again. Tomorrow, we bring everyone back together. If there's a network, we can expose it. We can't back down. Lucas nodded, determination rekindling in his eyes. We stand united and show them we won't be intimidated. As they headed to their respective homes, Olivia couldn't shake off the feeling that danger lurked just around the corner. Did they have what it took to face whatever awaited them? And when they pushed on against that looming darkness, what truths would emerge from the shadows? The next morning dawned with a gray haze hanging over the town, mirroring the storm of emotions swirling within Olivia. She wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck as she stepped into the coffee shop, the familiar scent of roasted beans mixing with the sound of the morning crowd. Lucas was already there, seated at a corner table, his brow furrowed in concentration as he scrolled through his phone. "Hey," Olivia said softly, trying to mask her unease with a smile. "Any updates?" "Not much yet," Lucas replied, looking up with a hint of concern. "But I've been thinking about how we can improve our message. We need to solidify our stance." Marvin arrived just then, his presence a welcome distraction. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was nuts," he said, shaking snow-like flakes of cold from his hair. "What's the plan?" Olivia glanced at her friends, her heart racing. "We have to present a united front today. Everyone needs to know we're not backing down." Marvin nodded, but his hesitation was palpable. "What if this doesn't go as planned? What if they don't show?" "Then we keep fighting," Olivia responded, her resolve firming. "But if we show strength now, it might just rally more supporters." They each took a deep breath, and shared determined glances. Together they would step into the fray. The minutes ticked by as patrons filled the shop, voices blending into a backdrop of chatter and clinking cups. Olivia checked her phone, the lone message from the unknown number still haunting her. "What if they're right?" she said suddenly, breaking the optimistic mood. "What if we're just fools playing at something bigger than us?" Lucas shook his head vehemently, leaning in. "No. We can't give in to fear. What we're doing matters. That message is a tactic to make us doubt ourselves. Maybe that's the truth." Marvin interjected, frowning. "But we can't ignore it either. We're fighting something real. What if our voices echo in the void?" "I believe we can create ripples," Olivia said, heart pounding. "Those ripples can grow into waves. We have to try." Her words seemed to ignite a spark in the room, the very air shifting with possibility. Lucas clapped his hands together, gathering their focus. "All right, let us strategize. We'll remind everyone why they joined us in the first place." They pulled out papers, jotting down points and ideas. The chatter around them faded as they molded their thoughts into something tangible. Their laughter and excitement slowly attracted attention, heads turning to see the trio scheming in the corner. As they exchanged thoughts, a woman approached their table, a frown etched on her face. "Are you three the ones riling up the crowd?" she asked, tones of skepticism lacing her voice. Olivia's heart raced as she recognized her. It was Sarah, a leader from the community who had remained on the sidelines until now. "We are, but we also want to hear from you. What do you think?" Sarah crossed her arms, assessing them. "I think you're playing a dangerous game. But I'm intrigued. What makes you so sure you can stand against this?" Suddenly, the cafe felt charged. The conversation around them faded as they all leaned in to hear Olivia's response. "Because we believe in something bigger than ourselves," Olivia said, her voice steady. "And that belief together, united, makes us powerful." As Sarah considered her words, the air shifted again. Was this the turning point? Were they drawing in the very voices they needed? Just then, Olivia's phone buzzed furiously. Instinctively, she glanced down and froze. The unknown number had messaged her again. "This is just the beginning. You're in way over your head." Panic surged in her chest, but she had to stay strong. Their battle was far from over, and every day was a risk. Would they be able to embrace uncertainty and forge ahead? The moment breathed a heavy silence, her mind racing with all that awaited them. Would they be strong enough to face it? And who was really pulling the strings behind the scenes? The cafe pulsed with a newfound energy as eyes turned back to Olivia, uncertainty mingling with anticipation. The spark of potential hung in the air, but the pit in her stomach deepened at the urgency of the situation. She looked at Lucas and Marvin, who were both watching her with a mixture of hope and expectation. "Olivia, focus," Lucas said, drawing her back to the moment. "What's next?" She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all their fears pressing down on her. "We stand together. We need to remind people why we're here so when we march today, they won't just see us as three kids trying to make noise. Sarah's skepticism softened slightly, as if contemplating her own role in the movement. Okay, but people won't just come for a speech. What's the hook? Why would they care? Because, Olivia said, her voice rising in intensity, this isn't just about us. It's about everyone who feels unheard. Everyone who believes we can change things. As her conviction filled the space, Olivia saw a glimmer of interest in Sarah's eyes. The woman unfolded her arms, leaning in closer. That's more like it. Speak to their hearts, Olivia. That'll draw them. Marvin glanced nervously at the clock. But we have to prepare. We can't waste time. Let us map it out, Lucas suggested. He grabbed a napkin and scribbled down key points while Olivia delved deeper, weaving personal stories with the fight before them. Minutes turned into a flurry of ideas. Olivia shared snippets of her childhood, the sense of community in her neighborhood, the years of feeling complacency when injustice loomed. Each recollection seemed to remind her of the fire that ignited in them all the dream of a unified front. I remember my dad saying that real change takes effort and heart, she stated passionately, her voice trembling with emotion. It's not just about shouting louder. It's about being louder with our purpose. We'll show them why this is personal. Marvin jotted the points down feverishly, capturing her energy. Sarah nodded along, her initial reservations melting away. This will resonate. But we need to elevate the message, she said thoughtfully. How about stories of real people impacted by what we're fighting against? Yes. Lucas exclaimed, eyes brightening. We can invite speakers who have lived through this. They'll give it authenticity. The trio buzzed with ideas as the caffeine-fueled layout took shape in front of them. Laughter mixed with brainstorming amidst the clatter of mugs, each moment transforming the previous fear into a tangible sense of purpose. Then, out of nowhere, Olivia's phone buzzed violently again. She glanced down, but before she could read the message, Lucas fished it out of her hand. Let me see that, he said. Wait. She stopped him, a mix of anxiety and panic welling up. We don't need any more distractions right now. Olivia, we can't just ignore it, he insisted, his brow furrowed with concern. If someone is trying to intimidate you, we should know. Or maybe it's just noise, she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. But we have to focus on what we can control, today, and our plan. As Sarah resumed her deliberations on speakers, Olivia felt a strange pulse of defiance wash over her. No more distractions, she said, her tone tinged with strength. We have a voice and it's time we use it. Just then, the cafe door swung open. A sudden gust of wind swept through, carrying icy air and a sense of urgency. In walked a figure shrouded in a heavy coat, their face obscured, their intentions unclear. Olivia's heart raced. Who's that? She muttered, every instinct telling her to be cautious. Lucas squinted toward the door. I'm not sure, but it doesn't feel like a coincidence. As the figure approached, Olivia felt the weight of the moment bear down. What secrets lay behind this unexpected arrival? Would they prove friend or foe in their struggle for change? The stakes had never felt higher. The figure stepped closer, peeling off the scarf that had hidden their face. Olivia's heart raced as recognition hit her. Charlotte, a former activist with a fierce reputation in Maplewood. Her eyes glinted with urgency, scanning the small coffee shop crowded with hopeful faces. I've heard whispers about what you're trying to do, Charlotte said, her voice low but firm. You can't just believe wishes can make change happen. The forces you're up against are powerful. Olivia felt cold rage stir within her. We know that. But we're determined to fight for our community. Charlotte raised an eyebrow, as if assessing their will. Determination isn't enough. I learned that the hard way. You need a plan, a strategy. Actions without foresight are just noise. Then help us. Marvin pleaded, desperation edging his voice. If you've done this before, we need your experience. Charlotte paused, studying their faces. I don't know if it's worth the risk. You think you can take on the bigger players in this town and win? There's a system in place, and it's far from forgiving. Inaction is worse, Lucas shot back, his voice steady. We have to try or we'll end up like all those who came and went without making an impact. Charlotte looked over their heads to the growing crowd outside, a combination of excitement and concern thrumming in the air. Some will come for curiosity, but will they stay once they realize what's at stake? Trust me, if they sense danger, fear will overtake hope. Then we have to face that fear. Olivia blurted, determination lining her voice. We can't let them win by not acting. Charlotte softened at Olivia's passion, the spark she once felt herself flickered in the air again. Okay. Let us see if we can create a real plan. Who can speak? Who will remain by your side? As the trio exchanged glances, an electric current of hope coursed through them. What about the stories? Marvin suggested. We'll show them the impact on real people. Yes. Lucas chimed, adrenaline rushing. They relate to the struggles everyone faced over the years. We can illustrate the very fabric of our community. Charlotte nodded, her gaze drawing in the hopeful group around them. That's the start, but you'll need more than just stories to galvanize support. Let us formulate tangible goals. Meetings, workshops gather volunteers, spark action that converts belief into something practical. As they brainstormed, the mood shifted. Rather than fear, there was something palpable in the atmosphere, like the awakening of a long-slumbering lion. Olivia couldn't help feeling lighter. They were putting together a genuine strategy, not just words, but a blueprint for action. Tomorrow, we meet at the park, she declared, unfurling the energy flowing from their collective spirit. We gather everyone we can. We'll share our ideas and transform feelings into solid plans. And at that moment, the cafe door swung open again, this time revealing a group of eager supporters, interest in their eyes forging the connection between them. Is this the movement? One woman asked, stepping in closer, her determination clear. Because I'm in. Yes. Lucas said, catching fire. We're firm together, turning fears into strength. At the table, Olivia exchanged a glance of hope with Marvin. There was a surge of confidence building, resonating like echoes of a warrior's call. Charlotte watched, her own conviction igniting softly. You've got what it takes. I'll help you navigate what's coming your way. The weight of her words settled over the group, offering a shield against doubt. As they outlined everything they would do, Olivia felt the pressure dissipating, replaced by a flourishing sense of possibility. The shadows in her mind receded as they shared laughs, dreams, and laughter fused with intent. Hours passed in a whirl of joy and determination. Enthusiasm descended like a golden light, drawing attention to their budding resolve, uniting the room. The urgency pulsed in the air, wrapping around them like a blanket of newfound hope. That night, as they dispersed into the cold, Olivia felt invigorated, her heart alive with purpose. She looked around at the engaged faces, rekindling her sense of belief. Maplewood needed a voice, and together all the voices could shape the future. In the days that followed, preparations accelerated. They set up meetings, gathered stories, and put the foundations in place for the movement. Each wrinkle of doubt was met with an iron resolve, one that had come to recognize not just fear, but the strength waiting to rise from it. Finally, the day of the rally arrived. The park was buzzing with energy as a sea of people gathered, their anticipation palpable. Spirits lifted, voices mingled as encouragement crackled through the air. Olivia took a deep breath, her smile bursting into a radiant shine as she stood at the front with Lucas and Marvin, Charlotte by their side. The crowd's chatter began to ebb, drawing together for the coming unification. Today, Olivia shouted, her voice ringing with clarity, we show Maplewood how strong we are when united. For each cheer that rose, Olivia felt her purpose breathing freely up against the sky. They had faced shadows together, and today even the clouds overhead seemed to part, revealing glimmers of sun. In that transformative moment, with hearts beating in rhythm, they embraced a powerful truth. Together, they were unstoppable. Now, it's your turn to be part of this journey. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive stories. Leave a like immediately to help us fuel this movement and feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful transformation, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiration. Let us grow our community. Let us lift each other.